Hello everyone. So today we're going to be covering special right triangles. The two right triangles that we're going to be covering today is the 45-45-90 triangle and the 30-60-90 triangle. So what I want to cover with you all first though is the 45-45-90, and we're going to label our sides as X and X. We know these two sides are the same because the angles across from each other are the same. They're congruent. And we're going to be able to identify this hypotenuse as x square root of 2. So for this one here, we're going to say that the legs are equal to x, and the hypotenuse is equal to x square root of 2. Okay? Now, with the 30, 60, 90 triangle, we have three different sides. We have the side opposite of the 30-degree angle, and this is going to be the short side. And your short side will be represented with an X. The side opposite of the 60, okay, this is your long side, and this will be x square root of 3. And your hypotenuse will be represented by 2x. So we'll write that over here. We'll say short is equal to x, long is equal to x square root of 3, and your hypotenuse is 2x. Cool. So let's go ahead and do a couple of practice problems here. So the first problem we have here is a 45, 45, 90. And I know that because it's indicated in the problem itself. So I've gone ahead and I've set up your little formula part here. So I want to keep this in mind. And a couple of steps that we want to make sure that we follow. So with this here, we want to make sure that we label our given sides. So what I mean by labeling our given sides is we want to identify the value, but we also want to indicate the variable here. So we know that x is equal to 2, and we can say that 2 is equal to x. We know that these sides are congruent. Very cool. The next part here is label the question sides. So what I mean by that is we need to identify what we're solving for. We've got this big old question mark here on the hypotenuse. We know our hypotenuse value is x equals square root of 2. So our question mark is its question mark is x is the square root of 2. So this is what we're solving for. So we need to identify what we have. So we know that x is equal to 2. And we're looking for x square root of 2. So step 3 says to set it up, which we have. And we're going to go ahead and plug in what we know, which is 2, because of this guy here, square root of 2. So our hypotenuse value is 2 square root 2. Okay, so we labeled the sides, we labeled the question sides, we did the setup and solved, and there was no simplification as we can't clean up the square root of 2 value, so we're good to go. All right, let's do another problem here. We're doing another 45, 45, 90, so we know that these are the same here. So we want to label our given side. So our given side here, like it says here, is 4 square root of 2. So we know that this is equal to x square root of 2. We want to label our question sides here where we know that x has to equal our x value. The same thing here. So this tells us that we're solving for x. So we labeled our sides, we labeled our question sides, and now we got to work at the setup. So this is our setup here, and we're going to say x square root of 2 is equal to 4 square root of 2. Well, very cool. So now we need to solve. We need to solve for x. So we're going to want to use reverse operations here. And to isolate our x value, to simplify out this radical of 2, we want to divide both sides by the square root of 2. So we know that x square root of 2 divided by square root of 2 will these simplify out and give us a value of 1. And the same thing would happen here, giving us this value of 1. So after we simplify these out, we get that x equals 4. So we did our setup, we did our solve, and as far as simplification, our answer here is x equals 4. So our leg is equal to x, which is equal to 4. Okay? For our next problem here, we have another 45, 45, 90. And we're going to go ahead and go through the steps. We're going to label our given sides. So our first given side here is at 20. Well, we know that 20 is going to be equal to x square root of 2. And we know here is x equals x and x equals x, which is telling us that we're solving for x. So we labeled our sides, we labeled our question sides. Now we're going to go through the setup and solve. So for the setup and solve, we see that we've got to solve this guy here. So we're going to say x square root of 2 is equal to 20. Okay, so like we did in the last problem, we want to isolate x, so we need to divide both sides by square root of 2. We already know that these will simplify out, so we're left with x equals 20 over the square root of 2. So we did our setup and solve. Awesome. Well, as far as simplifying this, we need to make sure that we don't have any radicals here in the denominator. This is no good. Okay, we don't want to have a radical here in the bottom. So to get rid of that, we need to go ahead and multiply this by square root of 2 over the square root of 2. Essentially what we're doing is we're multiplying this by 1. Okay, we've done this in the past, but this is just good practice here because we know what happens when we multiply these square roots of 2 times square roots of 2. We're going to be given 20 square root of 2 over the square root of 2 squared. Okay, I'm going to rewrite this to clean this up. We're going to say 20 square root of 2 over the square root of 2 squared. We know that because we've got square root of 2 times square root of 2. Well, what we learned from previous videos is that this radical or the square root and this square simplify out. Remember, we're multiplying this. This has a exponential value of 1/2 times the 2 is 1, so these simplify out, and we're left with 20 square root of 2 over 2. Now we're not done simplifying yet, as we can reduce this as 20 divided by 2 is 10. So we're left with 10 square root of 2 is equal to x. And this would be our leg value. So we can say that the leg is equal to x, which is equal to 10 square root of 2. All right, so let's do this problem here. And what we've got here is a 30, 60, 90 problem. Okay, so 30, 60, 90. Now with this 30, 60, 90, we want to identify this part up here, which is our reference part. So we're going to label our sides. And so we know that opposite of the 30-degree angles are short. And it's very important here that we identify these as the short is 2, which is equal to x. I get that from here. Our opposite of the 60 is our long, and this is what we're looking for. So it's very important to identify that this is going to be our x square root of 3 value. And our hypotenuse over here is our 2x value. So we labeled our sides, we labeled our question sides, and then we need to solve. Well, the solve is interesting here as we need to identify what we know. So we know that x is equal to 2. So if I know that x is equal to 2, I want to look at this part here. So to solve for our long, is that x square root of 3? Well, do I know what x is? Yeah, x is 2. So our long would be equal to 2 square root of 3. So we solve for that side there. So very simply, if you know the short side, you can just plug that value in for x and you get the long side. Well, to get the hypotenuse, okay, our hypotenuse would be at 2x. Do I know what x is? Yeah, we got what x is here. So we could set that up as 2, and in parentheses we put a 2. Well, 2 times 2 would be 4, so our hypotenuse here is 4. So again, if you know the short side, which is 2 in this case, which is our x, you can simply plug that in for the long and for the hypotenuse. So that's a good thing to go through. So just to double check our steps, we set up and solved. And there's nothing to simplify, so we are good there. Cool. Let's go ahead and do another one. So on this problem here, when we're labeling, we know that our short is something that we don't have. So our short side here is x. Our long here is 9 equals, well, we know that this 9 has to be set up equal to x square root of 3. And our hypotenuse is going to be 2x. So we labeled our sides. Now we need to look at the setup. So our setup is the only bit of information that we have here, which is that 9 equals x square root of 3. So we want to solve for x here. So we want to isolate them. To do that, like we did in the previous problems, we're going to go ahead and divide both sides by the square root of 3. So square root of 3 divided by square root of 3 simplifies out, giving us 1. So we're left with 9 over the square root of 3 equals x. So we set up and we solved. Great. Now to simplify, well, like I said before, this is no good. Okay, we don't want to have radicals in the denominator. So to get rid of that, just remember, when we have this 9 over square root of 3, we want to multiply this by 1. What I mean by 1 is we want to identify our denominator value, and we're going to set that over itself, because the square root of 3 divided by the square root of 3 is 1. So we multiply across, all right? We're going to get here 9 times the square root of 3 is 9 square root of 3 divided by, well, the square root of 3 times the square root of 3 is going to give us the square root of 3 squared. And what do we know about square roots and squares? Well, they simplify out. So that's going to be giving us 9 square root of 3 over 3. Now we're almost done simplifying, but we can go ahead and finish this up here by identifying that 9 divided by 3 would give us 3, and we bring this square root of 3 over. Wow, that was a lot of work. So all of this work is to identify our x value. So we're going to say here x equals 3 square root of 3. Okay. So we know that, and we know that x is here. We know our short side is 3 square root of 3. We know our long side, okay, is already 9, so that one's good. What about our hypotenuse? Well, our hypotenuse is equal to 2x. Do I know what x is? Yeah, x is 3 square root of 3. So we're going to plug that in here for x. We're going to say 2. Our x value again is 3 square root of 3. And to simplify that out, remember we need to distribute our 2 into the parentheses, so we would get 6 square root of 3. And that is our hypotenuse. So this would be 6 square root of 3 is our hypotenuse. Our short side is 3 square root of 3. And our long value was given to us, which was 9. So this problem I really enjoy, as it really pushes us on our simplifying, and it gives us the hardest side. Usually if you're given the long side and you have to solve for the hypotenuse, it's going to take a little bit more work. But don't worry about it. Follow the steps and you'll work through it. And our last problem of the day today. Okay, so we want to go ahead and go through the steps, labeling our sides. We know that this is our short, which is equal to x, our long, which is equal to x square root of 3, and our hypotenuse, which is equal to 2x, and we know that it's 12. So we labeled our given sides, we labeled our question sides, and we're going to go through the setup. Well, I don't know the long, don't know the short, but I do know this part of the hypotenuse. So let's use this to solve for x. So we're going to say 2x is equal to 12. To isolate x, we want to divide both sides by 2. This simplifies out. We are left with x equals 6. Oh, very cool. What's important about x being 6? Well, if we identify our short side as being x, we can say that that is 6. So we know our short side. We already know our hypotenuse. To get our long side, we say that that is x square root of 3. Do I know what x is? Sure. It's going to be 6. Plug that in, so we get our long side is 6 square root of 3. So to go through this real quick, we know our short is equal to x, which is equal to 6. Our long is equal to x square root of 3, which is equal to 6 square root 3. And our hypotenuse is equal to 2x, which is equal to 12. So given the hypotenuse, quick shortcut or way to think about this is you want to make sure that you just take half of that value of the hypotenuse. Okay, this part it was 12. That half of that value will give you your short side of the 6. So had our hypotenuse been 20, our short would be 10. Had our hypotenuse been 100, our short side would be 50. So I hope this video helps, guys, with 45, 45, 90 triangles and 30, 60, 90 triangles. You do have an assignment. All the problems are directly aligned to the 6 examples in this video. Follow the steps. If you have any questions, please join me on my office hours. I'd be more than happy to help you all out. Best of luck, and we'll talk to you all later. Have a good day.